It has been more than 16 years since the end of World War II. Many of those brave men and women have died taking their stories with them. The heroes who survive are open books with hundreds of stories.
And they killed everybody except the switchboard operator, and he fell down under the switchboard, acted like he was dead, so he survived. Torture, murder, and cannibalism. But this wasn't the only island that happened. It held a hand grenade up under a little Piper Cub observation plane and blew both arms off his face and everything else. Saw two kamikazes coming down on him. And they got the first one with the anti-aircraft fire. He blew up in a million pieces. But the second one, war is not like a Boy Scout picnic. It is bad, day to day, night to night, whatever. Places like that.
John K. Davis is a 90-year-old Marine Corps veteran who fought in the Pacific until the end of the war. Back home, he tries to share his experience and the effort of those who give their lives for their country.
The first day of the battle, they brought a young Marine, wounded badly. I went over and talked to him, and I'm sure he was doped up with morphine to kill the pain and everything. I said, "How are you doing?" He said, "I'm doing pretty good." I said, "Well, hang in there." I came back about 2 hours later, and he was dead. He was gone. He gave his life for our country and our flag and everything.
Since the first day of combat, Davis experienced war, which was being experienced by the natives in the Pacific who were caught in the crossfire.
And Sergeant Major Jacob Vusa was a native policeman. He volunteered to scout and guide for the Marines, and so he got out a little bit too far with the Marines. He's captured him, and they found that bag, and they opened it up, and there was a little American flag in there, so they tied him to a coconut tree and stuck him 7 times with a bayonet, just like this one. So they left him to die, but he didn't. He got loose and crawled through to the Marine lines, and the Navy doctors and corpsmen nursed him back to health. And when he got healthy, he'd take a .45 automatic and go out in the jungle and come back and say, "I got 2 last night." And they said, "Ah, you kidding." So to prove that he had got them, he would bring their heads back and roll them out there like a bowling ball. So they believed him from then on.
The different guns and weapons could totally change the outcome of the battle. Strategies and tactics ruled the war. One of the most horrible and unforgivable moments in war was the use of human beings as weapons. Kamikazes or suicide soldiers attacked USA soldiers from land and air.
The third day of the battle, I was up on a hill with my binoculars, and there was a cruiser anchored out there, and I saw 2 kamikazes coming down on it. And they got the first one with the anti-aircraft fire. He blew up in a million pieces, but the second one hit the bridge, and if they hadn't cleared the bridge, some people died right there.
But even in war times, miracles of compassion and mercy happen every day, and were probably those miracles that saved the life of John K. Davis and many U.S. soldiers.
Well, the jungle came 2 starving Japanese soldiers that had been left there. They smelled that food and they couldn't resist it. So somebody gave them a mess kit, and the MP stood by the side of them, and they wolfed that food down. And we'd find big piles of coconut husk where that's what they'd been living on.
The evolution of war has changed battles, from the food to the guns used nowadays. One of the big changes that occurred was the number of casualties in the battlefield.
But that was the most terrific battle. It was a 3-day battle in November of 1943. The Marines landed on this little island, which was about a mile long, I guess, and not very wide. And in 3 days, the Marines lost 960 killed, over 2,000 wounded, and the Japanese lost 4,500 and something killed in 3 days. And now in Afghanistan, if they lose 5 a week, which is terrible to lose even 1, it is bad. But when you think of that compared to Tarawa in 3 days, it's no real comparison at all.
The physical and physiological pain that many veterans suffer nowadays is the price paid for the rights and freedom that everybody enjoys, for the enormous effort of few. Only the veterans and their families know the horrible taste of war and its secondary effects in their everyday life.
They are forgetting, and like I said earlier, I don't want people to forget about all those young men that gave their utmost, everything they had to give, their life, for our flag, our country, our freedom, and our way of life. And it's a terrible thing that people are forgetting that.
Reporting for the Apache Powwow, Irving Marmolejo. It is a regular work day for Brian Baker, Department Chair of Skill Training Center. He teaches and looks over the welding students at Tyler Junior College. On Sunday, he attends Colonial Hills Baptist Church, where Robert Cotter is the senior pastor of the congregation.
His Father, so that the Father in heaven could do through him, the man, anything he wanted.
The sport of kings. They both practice the same sport, falconry.
Falconry is the art or sport of hunting and catching wild game with raptors.
Birds of prey often used for falconry are eagles, hawks, falcons, and even owls. These animals are natural killing machines. Falconers share a bond with their bird to improve its hunting skills. In 2005, a famous bird expert released a study in which he measured bird IQ. Hawks were among the most intelligent birds based on his scale. Birds of prey share physical characteristics which makes them excellent predators. Their eyesight is several times more accurate than that of a human being, which gives them the advantage of surprise. Its talons have 4 sharp claws used to catch and control. They have a strong beak, which falcons use to cut important nerves and finish the prey. Such lethal weapons are used with incredible speed and intelligence.
Bird is not dependent on me at all. The bird's a very capable hunter, especially if you've had the bird for a few years.
With 2 decades of experience, Mr. Baker recently captured a red-tailed hawk on December 25th. His daughter called it Angel. Today, Pastor Cotter and Mr. Baker brought their 2 hawks, which will be hunting at the field on separate times. Angel is the first hunter. Trainer and bird work together. The hawk gets on high position to scan the trees for any movement. Down on the ground, the trainer hits the trees on a perimeter around the bird. If a curious squirrel comes out, the hawk will notice it first and patiently wait for the right moment to strike.
That animal is poised and driven to catch, and the one that's being chased is driven to flee and get away, and it's really a life and death kind of thing.
Squirrels are smart and fast. Their knowledge of the terrain is used to their advantage. Despite their inoffensive appearance, they are vicious and aggressive.
They have very sharp teeth, so they bite, and they'll bite the hawk. But hawks learn how to handle them.
Over these bushes and vines, Mr. Baker's hawk, Angel, engages in a hostile fight. The mysterious animal escapes. On situations like this, falconers cannot interfere. This time, the hawk's experience helped it to finish a fight with a bigger animal uninjured. Mr. Baker is aware of the possibility of losing his bird while hunting. Sometimes his hawk will get ahead of him while going after its prey. That is why he, like many other falconers, uses a radio telemetry, a modern radio transmitter attached to its bird.
Telemetry enables us to track our birds so we can keep up with them, and therefore we don't lose them very often.
Pastor Cotter has practiced falconry, flying falcons and hawks for more than a decade. Pastor Cotter presents to others falconry, using it to share spiritual lessons of life. He preaches the message of salvation through the King of Kings while explaining what was known as the sport of kings. Rodeo is the name of Pastor Cotter's hawk. Hawks will attack to push its prey in a certain direction, working strategically to finally launch its fatal blow. Once the hawk catches its prey, its talons search for a soft tissue on the head where they apply incredible pressure, reaching the brain. Pastor Cotter and Mr. Baker were attracted to birds of prey and falconry since an early age. They know that the main purpose of falconry is the preservation of birds of prey. The Pilgrim's falcon's population was removed in many parts of the United States. Falconry played an important role bringing the species to stability, and it continues to help the protection of wildlife.
I've released birds in the past, and retrapped new ones.
Falconers are required to have a federal and state permit. Obtaining a falconry license in the United States requires an aspiring falconer to pass a written test, have equipment and facilities inspected, and serve a minimum of 2 years as an apprentice under a licensed falconer. After meeting all the requirements, the aspiring falconer is allowed to capture a falcon.
We use different types of traps, and we have a prey to lure them in, and then they get caught in the trap.
We put a hood on them to calm them down, and that begins the process of taming them down and getting them calm.
Birds of prey have to be captured before they are sexually mature. It is because birds of prey are very territorial and become aggressive around their nest area. This year, some hawks decided to make their nest on top of the University of Texas at Tyler cafeteria. Male and female hawks cater and take care of the eggs together. Around April, eggs hatch. Some species of hawk tend to have the same mating partner their whole life. The admiration of birds of prey is depicted as a sign of power and strength over the ages. The Mexican flag on its coat of arms is represented with a golden eagle perched upon a cactus, eating a snake. The Great Seal of the United States has a bald eagle holding arrows and an olive branch on its talons. Many falconers describe their role as natural watchers, those who look at nature unfolded, cruel for some, beautiful for others, but at the end, naturally balanced.
Sometimes maybe we don't like to think about it, but it's reality. It's the way it is. For you to live, something's going to die.